Today I will be unboxing an iPhone 4S, supposedly still running iOS 5. So without further ado, let's get this out of the box. Okay, here is the iPhone 4S. It also looks like it has Pokemon cards? What the fuck is going on? Why is there Pokemon cards in here? I have no idea. I have no idea if these are rare. This is so weird. Also, the outer box on this 4S is legit upside down. What is happening? If any of these are good, please let me know. I haven't collected Pokemon cards in 10 years. But here is the 4S. We have the black color option, of course. This is definitely a 4S. It's A1387, and it doesn't have that much scratching on it, surprisingly. Let's see if we have life. And it is definitely iOS 6 or lower, just based on that battery icon right there. Okay, it's 100% iOS 5 just because of this lock icon on the setup screen. This was removed in iOS 6, meaning this is 100% iOS 5. So let's see if it activates. I have no idea if this will activate or not. Looks like it's been reset, so I don't think I'll have to worry about that. I'm gonna use Siri, don't send, and we boot into iOS 5, and I really don't know what this app is. It also has a yellowing screen, and we have 5.0.1. Wow. So not quite 5.0, but we got close. And also, it doesn't look like it's fully like erased because there's some stuff in here, like some Bible app maybe, but I'm not gonna question a 5.0.1 4S. That is so cool. Now, let's go over the specs and history of the iPhone 4S. 4S released October 14th of 2011. It was the last phone to be announced in the lifetime of Steve Jobs, who died a day after it was announced. Rest in peace, of course. 4S externally looked very similar to the iPhone 4, but internally, of course, it was very different. The only difference you may notice is the antenna lines are slightly different, as on the iPhone 4, they had this thing called antenna gate, where if you held the phone in a certain way, you would lose signal. I will also probably throw up some images of what it actually looks like internally, because they completely redesigned the whole entire antenna bank to fix this. The 4S also now features the dual-core A5 chip, first seen in the iPad 2nd gen, making demanding tasks like games or whatever else you're doing that's demanding significantly better versus the iPhone 4. This means this phone had the curse of iOS 9 on A5, aka the last iOS version it would run. This iOS version ran so slow on the A5 chipset that Apple ended up being sued. I mean, it just kind of shows how lucky I am to have two of these on iOS 5 now. And of course, it also featured the same 512 megabytes of RAM as seen in the iPhone 4. Where the 4S also gets a massive improvement is in the camera. The iPhone 4 only had a 5 megapixel front camera, so it overall just looked a little bit more blurry versus what we have on the 4S. And even like the front camera, yeah, like this is very visible. It looks a bit better on the 4S here. And of course, this would now allow for 1080-30 videos, as the iPhone 4 can only do 720. The selfie camera, other than some slight differences, it is virtually the same, both being VGA quality cameras. But for some reason, I don't know if it's just how the processing works on the 4S or something, but it also does look slightly better versus what we have on the iPhone 4, as you can see right here. I'm not really sure why, but if I just like look at this, like this looks significantly better, but other than that, like specs wise, they're virtually the same. But other than that, they're basically the same. They're both VGA quality. The battery only saw a slight improvement on the 4S, going from about 1420 milliamp hours on the 4 to 1432 milliamp hours on the 4S, so there's not really much difference here, which I don't know how they could without like thickening the whole entire design, of course, as they pretty much uses the exact same design as the 4, so that makes sense. But now let's talk about why iOS 5 is so unique on this iPhone. iOS 5, of course, is the very first iOS version this device can run starting off, meaning it will run faster than pretty much anything else that this device can run. And of course, iOS 5 is slightly hard to find on the 4S, meaning this is sort of rare. iOS 5 is also by far one of the most important iOS versions in terms of features, so let's go over that. iOS 5 is the first iOS version to feature iCloud, as before you would have to manually sync your device with iTunes or be forced to pay for the buggy and overpriced Mobile Me. Steve Jobs even admitted that Mobile Me wasn't the best on stage, funny enough, at the release of iCloud.
Now, you might ask, why should I believe them? They're the ones that brought me Mobile Me. It wasn't our finest hour. Let me just say that, but we learned a lot.
And one of the reasons iCloud was so revolutionary versus something like Mobile Me is the starting price didn't have a starting price at all. It was completely free. And for Mobile Me, the starting price was about 99 bucks per year. Apple also introduced iMessage, allowing for unlimited text messages with other people that were running iOS 5 and had an internet connection. So of course this included iPad users and iPod Touch users. Of course this was crazy, as this wasn't even an option on iOS 4 at all. So like if you had like an iPod Touch 4 or an iPad 2 on iOS 4, this thing did not have iMessage, and nor did your iPhone either. It was just manual text messages that you needed a phone number for. And of course, this is where the infamous blue message bubbles were introduced. As you saw earlier, OTA updates and OTA setup was now added, meaning you can now set up your phone and update without connecting to iTunes. As before, on iOS 4, you were pretty much forced to have a computer handy if you wanted to activate your device. That was not really convenient at all, of course, as if you were just somebody that did not have a computer, you'd probably have to go to the Apple store and have someone activate your device for you, which would suck. And since it's the 4S and we're on iOS 5, this means we have the very first version of Siri. So let's just mess around with it a little bit before we continue.
I'm really sorry about this, but I can't take any requests. There's something wrong, and I can't answer your questions right now. Please try again in a little while.
Looks like we're having some issues, as sometimes Siri just does not work on these older iOS versions, although I do have another 4S handy. Siri, what is the weather in New York City?
Searching the web for Siri, what is the weather in New York City?
Okay, yeah, there you go. That's not really helpful. There's supposed to be an option for you to search the weather on here. It's like literally, look, what's the weather for today? Tell me a joke.
What do Alexander the Great, Winnie the Pooh, and Chance the Rapper have in common? Same middle name.
And this thing is probably just about as advanced as modern Apple intelligence. And the weird thing about this is the 4S pretty much had the same chip as the iPad 2, and I believe the iPad 2 did not get Siri for some reason when iOS 5 released. But the iPad mini 1st gen, which also had the same exact chip and launched with iOS 6, for some reason got this feature. Siri, what is the weather in New York City?
Searching the web.
Dog, this is not what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to pull up the weather app. Whatever. Siri, what are the latest MLB scores?
There are 14 MLB games for today.
And yeah, for some reason this got this. I'm not really sure why the iPad 2 on iOS 5 did not get this. The newsstand app was also added, and if you download like magazines and stuff like that, it would go right here and you could access them. And overall, it looks very skeuomorphic. I wish I could show you what it looks like when all these magazines are filled up, because it really does look cool. I'll probably find some images and just chuck it in here. But yeah, that's what the newsstand app is. And it is sort of a precursor to like the modern news app we saw on iOS 9. But in my opinion, it overall looks a lot cooler on iPad. So like here's an iOS 5 iPad 3rd gen, and yeah, it just looks really cool. Let's just like explore this device a little bit. So like the first thing I do want to look at is this classic YouTube app right here. Although I did not fix it with Tube Repair, you can still look at it. And I find this one very nostalgic, just the overall app icon of how it looks and everything. And it's definitely very skeuomorphic. It really mimics like a classic TV. This is also the last iOS version have the classic Maps app. As on iOS 6, this was replaced with Apple Maps, which was quite buggy from the start, and actually today still doesn't work natively. But on iOS 5 and below, for some reason, the classic Google Maps app just works, and I'm not really sure why. Like, we can go through here, we can go somewhere, let's go somewhere in like Florida. So like, yeah, you can see everything loads up here. We can even try to do like a street view. So let's go right here. Like I'm somewhere in Florida right now. Like, and it just works. Like this just works like this. Like here, let me show you what it looks like on iOS 6. Yeah, so here is the Maps app. It just doesn't work at all, as you can see. Also with some tweaks, you can fix things like the weather app, although I did not do this yet. And if you do want to see what it looks like fixed and up and running, Cupertino, and it's loaded up here, and you can see everything right here. I also did end up jailbreaking this thing, although I did not show you the process as I completely forgot to record. But if you're curious what Cydia looks like if you were like a jailbreaker back in the day, this is what Cydia looks like. For a lot of you, this is probably very nostalgic, but yeah, I never jailbroke my stuff back in the day. I only really do this nowadays just so I can get like apps and games and stuff on here, as otherwise it just doesn't work. You also can fix the App Store, but it really only is worth it on iOS 5.1x. As on iOS 5.0x, it's basically total SSL death and like nothing works. so you would need a proxy server for the App Store to work. Though, this is iOS 5.1 on this 4S, and we can go through here and take a look at what the App Store does look like in 2026 on iOS 5. And there you go, you can see everything loads up fine here. Although, this is not the best method to get apps really, as you can just sideload and you'd be way better off doing that instead of getting signed apps from the App Store, as half the time they don't even work. And iOS 5.0.x is slightly more unique versus something like iOS 5.1x. As if we just take a look at what the lock screen looks like, it kind of has this more classic slide to unlock style without this like camera button on the side here. On iOS 5.0x, it has the more iOS 4 like one right here. So if I show you what it looks like on iOS 4, you see what I mean. And I sideloaded like 10 versions of Minecraft PE on here, so let's just mess around a little bit and see what it looks like right here. So like here is a world I just created like 2 seconds ago. Let's turn up all the graphics up here. Let's make this D-pad slightly smaller, turn on split controls, just make this thing look a lot better. And yeah, I believe this is Minecraft version 0.81, so this is like the last version to get infinite worlds, if that matters to you, which it does to me. I do really like these types of versions and everything, but I do kind of like the early infinite world versions of Minecraft Pocket Edition, if I can't lie. So yeah, and I did sideload one of the very first versions with infinite worlds, aka 0.95, if we're curious on what that looks like. So here we go. Yeah, and I believe this is like the latest you can go on iOS 5 also. So yeah, and I did get some other games on here, not just like 10 versions of Minecraft. I got things like Doodle Jump, Fruit Ninja, Jetpack Joyride. So let's go through here and just see what it looks like. Oh, and I died already. But yeah, that's what that looks like. Let's take a look at Fruit Ninja. So I did play this a lot back in the day also. It looks like I might have loaded up a game already. I honestly do not remember. But yeah, that's Fruit Ninja. Let's take a look at Jetpack Joyride. I do really like this game. And here you go. You can see it's up and running here. I did play this also a lot back in the day. This is like one of my favorite mobile games, probably ever, if I'm being real. But yeah, that's some gaming on here also. We can take a look at the Stocks app. I did not fix the Stocks app on here, so it really won't retrieve anything. Although, I did fix it on this iOS 5.1 iPhone 4S right here. So let's just take a look at what it looks like. And yeah, there you go. So, yeah, that is pretty much iOS 5 on here. We can go look through some other stuff, but there's not really much stuff that's like interesting that I can probably get working. But you can take a look at the Notes app. I always take a look at the Notes app. There's actually not anything in here, thankfully, from whatever person had this before. But yeah, very skeuomorphic, very classic looking, and it's pretty much a far cry from what we have today. And yeah, here is the classic Game Center app with all the green felt and everything, and oh yeah, this looks very good. We also have the classic Reminders application, which is very skeuomorphic, and I do really like how this looks. But yeah, that's this iPhone 4S. I'm very happy to have one on something other than iOS 5.1x, as the only other 4Ss I have, which is another one I have that's downgraded, this one isn't. This one's on 5.1. I have a downgraded one that's also white on 5.1.1, so I'm very happy to have one on 5.0x, although I could technically downgrade the other one to 5.0x if I desire, but I don't really want to do that if I'm being real, because it just breaks pretty much everything just with all the SSL issues that iOS 5.0x has. But overall, it's just a lot more unique compared to something like iOS 5.1.1, as that is very much more common compared to something like this. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please consider dropping a like, subscribing with notifications on, and sharing this to someone that would find this interesting. Check out my social media accounts, which will be in the description and in the end card. I have a TikTok, a Reddit account, and I have a Twitter. So, yeah, this has been Derek from Certified Legacy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.